The Spirituality Now podcast is sponsored by Delaflor Teachings International, a spiritual and systemic coaching and consulting company with the mission to help individuals, businesses, and corporations create brilliant futures through sustainable transformation. Also sponsored by the Network for Human Empowerment, a philanthropic TV network that serves the Spanish-speaking communities with free, conscious education aimed to empower individuals to become the best versions of themselves. And our podcast producer, Ascend Media, Authority Syndication, delivering premium video marketing, podcast production, and social syndication.
Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, as with every episode, Yvonne de la Flor, and I'm super honored and excited because, I feel that the energy that you will be able to feel, if so you choose, is energy of love, of compassion, of serenity, of maybe serendipity, and also a lot of spiritual transmission that doesn't start only in the now, but on other timeless nows that have come before us. People call them past lifetimes. People call them cultivation. I just call them a continuation of this energy of sources consciousness that keeps expanding, that keeps radiating, that brings us all together in mysterious, unexpected ways. And with my guests today, that was such a thing. And actually, I think, my podcast, I Know Spirituality Now, we just got a message from someone, Yvonne, you're always talking about certain teachers, either Bodhidharma or Tim Grover. I'm like, yeah, most of my guests that I have brought where I speak Tim Grover is because I met them through him. And I always like to pay tribute where tribute is due. I feel, in the concept of oneness, of unity and diversity, that when we honor what others have given us, we are also honoring the potential that we have not only to grow, but we're also honoring God within. All right, so we're going to begin because my beloved guest, Radha Baum, and she's here with the presence of his son to support her, my beloved Shiva Baum, that we've been trying to get him on the podcast, but God has plans that are incredible. So I have as a guest Radha Baum, and I hope I'm saying your last name correct. Am I pronouncing it correct?
Yes,
beloved?
you are.
Oh, that's awesome. So Radha Baum has a degree in early childhood education from NYU and worked as a nursery school teacher. She is a retired family nurse practitioner, FNP, and a registered nurse, RN, as well as a licensed acupuncturist, and practitioner of various complementary healing techniques. She is a certified Defeat Autism Now. I love that. My older son was diagnosed with autism and has worked with autistic children, at the Exceptional Health and Wellness Center, Central Speech in Hartsdale, New York. I didn't even know that existed. You see, you always can learn something. In family education, nutritional guidance, and ABA training for children is behavior therapy. She has exceptional health and wellness. She has She has an lecture on childhood disorders and allergies and nutrition for children at Complementary Medicine in Southern New York, where she also lectured on women's health issues and Chinese herbal medicine. She and her beloved Parvati, who is an author of a book that we're going to speak today, she couldn't be here, but they both have studied story with Robert McKee, and they both are incredible spiritual practitioners servants of humanity, and also authors. And we're here today to talk about the book Isabella Castaspella, which is, let me just tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll start with the questions for beloved Radha. So the greatest magic of all is love. We're talking about the book now. By reading with our kids, as Radha has done with her children and grandchildren, and Parvati, we are not only strengthening the bond of love with our children, but also sharing our love of reading, one of the greatest gifts we can give to a child. So this book is called Isabella Castaspella, reinforces the spiritual values of love and kindness in how we treat others, the way Isabella cast a spell and her friends do while still standing up to nasty bully, which we have a lot in humanity right now. And animals are a diverse lot too. They speak about animals and everything too. Some with reading difficulty or ADHD, and all are treated with kindness, with no attention to different ethnicities or species. But none of it is preachy, just good fun, and a great way to end a child's day, since Isi, which is, I believe that's Isabella Castaspella, we'll clarify all of these, goes to bed at the end of each chapter. The audiobook is captivating for all ages. The very talented narrator does more than a dozen voices, which I think this is the audiobook, and has been thoroughly enjoyed by all ages and by those with autism. And this is, let me tell you why I'm reading like this. I'm reading right now, this is the bio. We did not, we have our schedule for our podcast pre-booked for months ahead. I really felt that I had to invite Radha to speak about this book. Plus, it's a beautiful witch called Isabella Castaspella, right? The power of words, casting spells, spelling, and the support it does. And also because she also, Radha had a almost near that experience, almost fatal accident, and she's recovering from that. So funds are supporting for that healing, for the continuation of her sharing and her gifts of consciousness to humanity. Let me tell you a little bit more about Isabella Castaspella. It's a unique book of 10 chapters, all in verse. It tells the story of Isis' struggles with Lavinia Lamini. I love the name so much. I mean, I'm loving it. A nasty witch who is always trying to make the life miserable for Isi and her friends. Each of Isi's friends expresses a particular aspect or behavior of childhood. Messy Tessie has trouble finding her crystal ball because she doesn't pick up after herself. Moontruth doubts his abilities as a musician. Daisy Doo is an artist who tends to be scatterbrained. Angel Cross, the soccer champ, has trouble reading. Then there are the animals, Myron, a super smart frog who becomes Isy's pet. Maxine is a very particular cat, and Messy Tessie pet Bruno, the lovable, ever-hungry bulldog, runs into trouble with mean old Lavinia Lamini. I love that name. And let's not forget Witchy the Wise. Even magical little witches need a mentor. All right. So with this, I did my best right now to share a little bit of what Radha is going to do. Wonderful. And her son, Shiva Baum, is here too. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. You make me laugh. I'm laughing.
What? How so, Radha? How so? Laughter is always good.
Because there's something about how you present things just in such a beautiful way, and such a joyous way, and such a light coming through you, that it just touches my heart and just makes me smile and laugh for joy.
Oh, I love this so much. So Radha, we're here. Let's start, I want to start with your background of, I know you're a servant of humanity. Anyone that is a nurse is like the nursing humans, nursing the spirit of humanity, nursing healing is like the path of the Christ, right? It's like very Christ consciousness. But I want to hear about first your spiritual background. And besides, this, I know you live with a very, very well-known spiritual teacher. So we'd love to hear a little bit about that. And then we'll move to another question that will lead us to what you're experiencing now in the creation of the book.
It's Ram Dass, and mainly Ram Dass and his guru, who's my guru also, is named is Neem Karoli Baba.
Mm.
We were in India in 1971 and 72. We were very fortunate to be able to have been with a true saint.
Oh, that's good. That's when I was born, 1971. That's awesome.
You're kidding. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, that's when I was born.
Year.
You were with Neem Karoli Baba. How was that? I know so many people that have been with him and they're extraordinary beings. How was living with him?
Maybe.
Say that again?
Krishna Das. Ramdas.
Oh, yes. I know Krishna Das. You know, I used to bring him to Santa Barbara, California, and go to all his concerts. I actually went to see him in London too.
How nice. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So your spiritual path with Neem Karoli Baba. So you grew up in the 60s, in the 70s, correct? How was that, Radha? How was that experience now?
The best time ever. This was a time of extraordinary music with incredible artists. It was a time of hippies, which is what my husband and I were kind of like, meaning that everything was changing in the society, we thought, and we felt that it was going to be permanently like that. But for this time, it was just a very magical time with just changes in the way that people related to each other. Psychedelics, which I was not so much into, but most people were that were hippies. And anyway, I met Ramdas through hearing him, actually. The first time that he came back, he was with Tim. I don't know if I should go into this with who he was.
Oh, you can go wherever you want. This is your podcast, love.
All right. Okay. Ramdas his name was Richard Alpert, and he was with Timothy Leary and very much into psychedelics, which changed his life, where he saw that he was brilliant professor at Harvard University. And he saw that there was more than just the mind. And this really changed him completely. And
yeah, the psychedelic. Yes. So you live through a time that is actually repeating right now. Because we are in a world that the psychedelic movement is reawakening. Ayahuasca ceremonies, DMT.
That's true. People are very much into that. Right? It has to do with not just because it's a big just. It has to do with seeing that there's more than what we think is just regular everyday living. That there's a whole other universe that's going on at the exact same time, but that we're just not open to it, or we don't see it, we don't feel it. So at that period of time, this was in the early 60s. Ramdas went to India, or Timothy Leary did not, but Richard Alpert, that was who Ramdas was.
Yes.
He had this big transformation. We had seen him when he had come to New York to a place that was called Fillmore East. And he had done a talk with Timothy Leary called An Evening with God. So we saw what he looked like, we saw what he sounded like, we saw who Richard Alpert was. And we received something in the mail that said that Richard Alpert had gone to India and went through this huge transformation and came back as Baba Ramdas. And it sounded really good, and we really wanted to hear what it was. But unfortunately, we got the flyer too late. But one day, we were supposed to go to a friend's house. It was a Sunday, and it was pouring rain, and one of those kind of rains that if you don't have to go out, you don't want to. So we canceled our appointment with our friend, and we just turned on this radio station. That was a BAI public radio. That was a very special station to people in those days. And the person who we used to listen to said he was interrupting his broadcast to bring the broadcast, a tape of the broadcast of Baba Ramdas, who was Richard Alpert and had come back to America as a transformed Richard Alpert, who is now Baba Ramdas. And we said, oh my gosh, this is what we missed. This is what we were so excited that we could hear this. Well, what happened was that this is just listening to a talk. Something happened to me. And I felt like, I said, oh my God, everything that he was talking about, I understood. And I said, yes, this is true. This to myself. Saying, this is true. Yes, yes, yes. I could understand what he was talking about. Not just understand, it was like I knew it from my being. I just felt like this person is talking about what I know to be true. And I never heard anybody talk like that. And his voice and the way that he was, well, I was so we were just so excited. And then we found out that he was actually coming to New York.
Oh, that's where you met him. Okay, that's so amazing.
We met him and he was doing a talk at a place called the Universalist Church, which was packed full. And he spoke for at least 4 hours. Nobody moved. Nobody was going anywhere, including the janitor who stood at the door with his broom to clean up, but he was transformed. And he looked like so completely different. He was wearing a white dress that's called an elfie.
Yes.
I think he had barefoot and he had a mala beads. That he and,
so he was fresh from India.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember, when I went and was, I was part of the World Games that was called like the Olympics of Peace with Amma and the Dalai Lama and all of that. I remember, and I was initiated as a Swami back in the day. I was wearing my orange robes. I was barefoot with malas. Then, of course, I integrated myself and I realized that the malas and the clothing was within me. But I remember. And so I like what you said, because I'm going to move us to the book just because of the time. But I love that you were able to meet these teachers, right? These Neem Karola Baba, Guru Ram Das, and also you had the experience of the 60s, of an era of transformation for humanity, an era where you all had to be the courageous ones, right? Because we're going to send it now to Isabella Castaspella, right? The courageous ones to do what many were not doing, and that was needed to pivot, in a humanity that was suffering so much, the war, Vietnam, all that stuff that was going on, right? Yes. You got your generation. I'm so grateful, right? Is it true that they call you the baby boomers or
no?
Not?
The baby boomers were around our time, but they were kind of like, they came before us, after us, actually.
Oh, that's after. I always had we interrupt this podcast to say that I detoured to the baby boomers question that I had. Okay, back into focus. So your generation.
Shiva here. Radha's going to take a quick medical break. I'm going to step in. She's going to tag me in the interview while she attends to a quick medical break, and then she'll come right back.
That's good. That's good, Shiva. Let's go. Let's continue. All right. So everybody, this is a podcast, this Spirituality Now podcast. We're adapting. We're here to support Radha Baum and Parvati, her co-author, in promoting her book, Isabella Castaspella. Radha had a car accident. Obviously, as you heard, she needs to take medical breaks, etc. Her beloved son, my friend and ally, we are part of a group of Down and Dirty with Tim Grover. That's how it's called. So we're doing the best. So this is a podcast really to support and to spread work. So Radha went with Ram Das, Neem Karola Baba. She's from the 60s. They are the courageous ones that actually went into this investigation of consciousness through DMT, psychedelics, meeting Ram Das, and, being here and now. The power was born. So years forward, now we're going to future into the now. We have Shiva here. Radha has a car accident after service, after so many years of service to humanity. She has a car accident. So share briefly with us, Shiva, the experience of Radha and how and why they wrote this book.
Thank you so much, Yvonne, and all the listeners of this powerful podcast. It's just such an honor for my mother and myself to be here. And it's important that these very unique works of intersecting popular culture and spirituality have a voice in the marketplace, and let chariots for word of mouth to travel fast. So I wanted to immediately pay tribute to what you've built, Yvonne, and this loyal listenership and this community that continues to grow. It's just so necessary in the world right now with all that's going on in the planet for all of us to have a voice here. So just I want to honor that and thank you. And to your team who just empowers this to travel into the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a very, very fascinating time, an accelerated time for all of us. But it was in March of 2019, so literally a year before the whole world changed, my mother's life changed, my life changed. She was driving 5 minutes from where she lives in about 45 minutes outside of Manhattan, small, quiet community of Rockland County, New York. She was making an ordinary turn like she would normally do, and just no big deal. 5 minutes from where she lives, a car from out of nowhere hit her. The car was traveling at 70 miles per hour. It smashed into her passenger side, thankfully not her driver's side. She wouldn't be talking today if it were. But my mother, as a result of that incident, broke a part of her spine. I don't know the exact technical term, but every doctor that we've seen since has confirmed that she's a walking miracle. It's the same part of her vertebrae that was fractured that Christopher Reeve, the actor most famously known for playing Superman, that was his incident, and it caused him to suffer a very intense paralysis, and that was, my mother was spared from that by God's grace, or I believe the grace of
absolutely the grace of God, the grace of spirit. Yes.
So what happened was she has been healing from that ever since, and it's evolved her medical condition since then. But what's pretty extraordinary was, a year later, the whole world changed. Okay, so her incident happened in March of 2019. And then 1 year later, the world in a certain way caught up to her, and that she was, in terms of this whole thing with Zoom and working remotely and working from home and doing things virtually, right? And so in the midst of all of this, this book that she has been writing with her best friend, Parvati Markus, who is an accomplished author. She currently has a book called Whisper in the Heart that's out right now, but she's had other major books published around spirituality. And the book Whisper in the Heart is a collection of stories about all these beings, many thousands over the years, who've had the darshan, the great communion with the spirit and the essence of Neem Baba, but never got to meet him in the body. He left his body in 1973, and my mother and Parvati and others like Krishnadas spent a lot, and Ramdas spent a lot of time with Neem Baba over those 2 years before his passing. But many, many since, through the teachings of Ramdas, through the music of artists like Krishnadas and Jai Utal, I've had this intimate relationship with Neem Baba, but never got to meet him in the body. And so this book is, from my understanding, the first of its kind in this scope, detailing and documenting those stories of people who have been with him intimately without having met him in the body. So that's called Whisper in the Heart. But many years ago started Radha, my mother, had this powerful download about a cast of characters and a story for children, and really uniting these spiritual principles that she's learned and lived, and it's just been her nature. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, seemingly from the ether, divinely inspired, this not only cast of characters were given to her, again, starting over 20 years ago, but they came in rhyme, okay, in verse. There was not only the story and the characters, but the way it was to be told was given to her like music. And so we're talking about Isabella Castaspella, and she's known in the book as Izzy Wizzy. And it's about friendship. And there's such a diverse cast of her friends that just naturally occurred. And Radha's back, but I just wanted to set her up. She wants to talk now, but this is
let's continue. Continue, Shiva, because I'm super interested in what you're sharing about this. Please continue.
What happened was that one night, it was late, and it was midnight actually. All of a sudden I just started writing. I never wrote anything. This is the first time, and I was told, it's not like that I heard voices. It was like just understanding, and it just kind of flowed through my hand. I called it a muse, like you hear about the Muse, MUSE, that has come and that brings like all kinds of artistic experience to the person. Well, this came through sound, through words, and through a bunch of different characters and a story. And when I first started writing it, I felt that this is like right after I started writing, I called Shiva, because he was on the West Coast. So he was a 3-hour behind where I was, so that he was still awake. And I said, I want you to hear this. And I just want you to tell me what you think. And he was shocked like that it was, here he is. He could tell you.
Well, I'm a professional in the music industry for over 25
I know.
years. And that's why I was out in California in working for a major record label at the time. And here is my mother, who's never written anything. She's coming through with this story and rhymes and verse. And Yvonne, it just blew me away to be able to truthfully tell her. I said, Mom, you really have something here. And I recognized that we were in the presence of the muse, as Stephen Pressfield is so eloquently written about in The War of Art, and which is thankfully very, very popular now amongst writers and creators. But he talks about, he's a master teacher on writing, and how the muse will, if you honor it, it will visit you. The muse.
Oh, I know about her.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Radha, is living proof of this. I just wanted to add that point about.
Yeah.
Let me share something before we continue. This is very. Let me just share something before we continue. So, one of the what you both are sharing. First of all, I want to acknowledge that it's a powerful equation to have a mother and a son in the show. Just right there, I believe is going to bring a lot of healing to mother-son's relationships out in the world. Second, when the muse touches you and you listen, magic happens. It is called in A Course in Miracles, the holy instant, the holy moment, right? This is how A Course in Miracles was birthed. This is how incredible spiritual work and mindset work. I remember even Tony Robbins. I had a privilege to be mentored in his in a couple of his programs and coaching, platinum coaching, etc. But I remember him saying that one time he went to Fiji, and his life was falling apart, even though he was very famous. And he was sat in a coffee, and he couldn't stop writing for, I believe it was 14 hours, and he wrote one of the most impactful programs in the world. I changed my life through it. I recommend it to every single being. As long as Tony Robbins is alive, everybody should experience it at least once. He wrote Date with Destiny, but he attributes that to the presence of the muse. So I wanted to highlight this for everyone, because now everybody knows that we're going with the presence of the muse. What Radha will share, we're moving into knowing that Radha had an almost fatal car accident, right? That she's still recovering. She just took a medical break. And now we're going, because the muse gave her this book, right? And so now we're going to talk about Isabella Castaspella, which can we say, maybe I have my light is so predominant here in my work, but it comes from owning my dark side. Can I tell you, I love the dark part of this book?
Sure, please do.
So please share about Isabella Castaspella, Radha. So you began to receive all of these, which many people call automatic writing and, auditory perception of how the muse is speaking. So what happens next?
what happened was that I called my best friend, Parvati, who was doing a lot of editing work. And I read it to her, and I said, she didn't have it. I knew I wanted the name, or her name, not wanted, it was her name was Isabella. And it was about a little witch. And I was asking Parvati about, what do you think her name should be? And so I said, well, what do witches do? And she went through a bunch of different things that witches do. And one of them was that they cast spells. And I said, that's it. Castaspella, Isabella Castaspella.
Wow.
That and that was how the name came. And she and I started working together and decided that we would be partners on this, because even though it was coming through me in a certain way, it came through me, but it was like I say, Parvati made it great because she's a great writer, and I'm just a person who I had this incredible experience.
There's a beautiful collaboration. Again, they're best friends for over 50 years, met through Ram Dass.
In the summer of 1969, we lived up in his father's place.
That is so amazing. And her name is Parvati, which I think I shared her bio instead of yours first, Parvati, which I love, which she is another of the beloveds of Shiva, right? Parvati and Radha of Krishna. This is a lot of play. The Muse is playing with all of us right now.
Yes.
I'm just going to say that the Muse is playing with all of us right now. She actually have us all do this podcast today.
I believe it.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something else, Yvonne. That was
all right. The excitement is building, everyone.
This is very exciting because this has been going on. This is over 20 years ago. It's more than 20 years that this started. And a lot of things happened during that time, but there was nothing that was really moving. It wasn't really actually coming out into like an actual form until recently, like within the past, I'd say like year, that we were told again, it was like, got a strong message that Izzy was for the world and that it was time for her to come out, and things start coming. You can't see me, but I'm going, thing after thing after thing after thing started happening. Wow. And after all this year and many hundreds and hundreds of rewrites, so different. When I started with this book, I wanted it to be so that children would be able to know what the next word would be because it was rhyming. So they'd be able to see what the word was. So they'd be able to learn, like they'd learn reading along with having a great time, a very easy way of learning. They would give me the answers. I would ask, like, they could tell you could just tell the way it was written, what the next word was. So it started out like that. And then it just evolved to more and more. And what happened was that Parvati and I knew, both of us knew exactly what Izzy looked like. We knew what her friends looked like. We knew, and we never even thought about diversity. It just was there. It was just the way it was.
Let me read the back of the book.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And again, with Parvati and Radha, they've been best friends for over 50 years and then went to India together as young friends and young women and have literally been living this spiritual life ever since for over 50 years. And then, Parvati was a professional editor and then author, and then Radha all of a sudden is visited by the Muse and just begins translating to Parvati collaborating with Radha, editing and further translating and inspiring what, these powerful, inspiring stories of this universe of characters coming out. So it's really that excitement coming through now and the retelling of how this all came together. And so now finally, Isabella Castaspella, known as Izzy Wizzy to her friends, demanded really in the last, year, especially, it's time for Izzy to fly. She belongs to the world and not just on the paper here and in the heads of Radha and Parvati. She belongs to the world, and all the children who will be, and their parents will be, inspired, delighted by these dharmic teachings encoded in these beautiful verses here. So Isabella Castaspella The happy little witch known as Izzy just flew into town, and she's here to cast a happy little spell on you. Join Izzy and her friends, Myron the Frog, Messy Tessie, Bruno the Bulldog, Moontoon, Daisy Doo, Angel Cruz, and Maxine the Cat, with the help of dear Grandmotherly, Witchy the Wise, as they use the magic of kindness, imagination, and love to battle Lavinia Lamini, a nasty old witch who is out to cause trouble. And so this premise and container is able to put forth so much dharma and beautiful teachings that are fun and inspiring.
It's not preachy.
And some very funny, right?
Can I say that I immediately, some part of my consciousness immediately connected with Lavinia Lamini?
I know, I want to hear what
I can't wait. I ordered my books. They haven't arrived, so I can't wait. I'm going to order a couple more to give them away because this is so amazing. So let me ask you something, because I think everybody will understand now that we are here doing a really special episode. You know, it's a special edition episode to promote a book that also supports the funds for the healing of Radha after her accident and after years and years and years and lifetimes of service to humanity. I think it's good for us to give back. And in a way that Isabella Castaspella helped us not only buy a book, but read a book with a child and also to our inner child and cast spells of love. I'm going to repeat something that I read in what Parvati Markus sent us, right? Which she said, the greatest magic of all, and this is the gift of the Muse, and this is the gift of Isabella Castaspella and of Radha Baum and her beloved son Shiva, is love. The greatest magic of all is love. I can't emphasize how powerful this is. And I want you to know that the author, especially I think Parvati is going to be doing reading, signing at Barnes & Noble, right? On October 29. We're trying to push to get this podcast next week, actually. We're recording this on October 7. We're going to push it so this can come out so everybody can see. But if you are around Thousand Oaks on October 29th and at the Grove in LA on the 30th of October, oh my gosh, that's exciting. For those in the area, she's going to be doing a reading and signing of the book. She's also going to be at 805 Writers Conference and Book Expo in Ventura on November 5 and 6. And, the authors, both Radha and Parvati, the book was written for ages 5 and 9. But I'm going to tell you, I feel this is for the children of all humanity. I feel connected to the characters. I do want to tell you that the book was awarded the 8th place in the children's young adult fiction category of the 91st Annual Writers Digest Writing Competition. And Shiva and I understand winning. This is important. And it has received an honorable mention Hollywood Book Festival. I feel shivers, Radha. Let me ask you about the characters a little bit, because
I just also, Yvonne, I just want to mention, first of all, thank you. I just want to quickly mention there is an audio book.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
That's available wherever audiobooks are sold, on Audible or iTunes, wherever you get your audiobooks. And that came out so well. It's getting really up for some very, very prodigious awards there. That it's been so well received. So I just wanted to mention for anyone who loves and craves audiobooks and prefers that format, it's available, and we love how it came out, and the industry is really embracing the audiobook version as well. So just wanted to add that to the listeners.
Can I say something, Shiva? You have the best voice. We always told you every time you speak in public, it's like I'm like, oh my gosh, am I interviewing or am I getting a training on how to do this even better? I always love your mastery on the microphone, Shiva. So guys, let's talk about the characters, and I'm going to push a little bit more minutes if that's okay with you all. And if you need medical breaks, rather, please do so. And Shiva and I will carry on the stuff. So let's start with Isabella Castaspella. This is so fun for me because it's my first podcast that I get to speak about characters in the invisible realm. Oh, this is so good. So Isabella Castaspella, she is the main character of the book, correct?
Correct.
So what is, like, you know, I see here Isabella, known to her friends as Sisi, is the center of her circle of friends. She's always trying to help, and she's always having trouble with Lavinia Lamini. Why are they always in trouble? Because that's a part of our humanity, right? There's always like the duality aspect of things. Tell me about Isabella and Lavinia Lamini.
What happened was that there was an incident at Halloween before, was that the children were out trick-or-treating, and Lavinia would hide behind trees and come out and scare the kids. Eek! And she would grab their candy and she'd say, "Oh, the candy is mine. Oh, mine." And they were terrified of her. They were so afraid of her that they wouldn't come out the next year. And the stores were full of all kinds of things for Halloween, and nobody was buying. And not only that, but Isabella and she had a problem at that point, because Isabella cast a spell that Lavinia Lamini would see her own reflection, see what she was like, and run away. She'd get terrified of herself. So that ruined Lavinia's fun at Halloween, of torturing the kids and stealing all their candy and being their nasty self. And she was angry that Izzy did that. So what she did was that one of the things that Izzy loved to do was just sweep. She just liked it. And she'd be sweeping and sweeping. She'd be sweeping outside, and not just even inside the house, but she wasn't neat at sweeping. So it's like dust was flying everywhere, and she's outside sweeping, and she started sweeping the grass. And then all of a sudden her broom gets stuck, and it's stuck in some old moldy mac and cheese. And she says, "What is this?" And she sees a sign that says, "Yours," what is it? I'm trying to think what it says. Something like,
nastily.
Yeah, "Yours nastily, Lavinia Lamini." And she said again, "Oh, this witch is up to no good." And it goes to the story that happened previously. So,
Radha, just too, because Isabella and Lavinia Lamini, don't we all have Isabella Castaspella and Lavinia Lamini within us all?
Yes, we do. This is the dark side that you were talking about.
This is the Shiva. I love having your mom here. Our, Radha and Lavinia and Isabella Castaspella.
It's all connected.
I'm going to tell you who Lavinia Lamini was, like who I saw her as.
Yes.
My first grade teacher, who was horrible. She was mean. She was cruel. She was cold.
Oh.
She described like she had these long red claws, like, her hand, she'd grab a hold of your hand. And so it's kind of like when I was with a lot of the characters, I was going through an exorcism of negative things that happened in the past. And one of them certainly was traumatized by my first grade teacher.
Wow. I love this, Radha. This is important because, our audience is adults, and we have a big audience, especially in Latin America, of people that are really committed to have conscious parenting. This book can help you to process that. I love that you were able, that memory, that, cellular memory, trauma, it was able to be integrated in such a joyous character, the Lila, the play of consciousness that writing this book, because I'm keeping my copy for me. I thought, okay, I bought a copy for my son, and now I'm keeping a copy for me, because this is, that's now I understand even more why the Muse will give you this. Why will the Muse will invite Parvati, which is an extraordinary writer? Why the Muse have us all, Shiva, you, Radha, and myself, together today to speak about this. And for me, that I've worked in family constellations, trauma and shadow integration, the dark side of things for more than 20 years, there's Lavinia Lamini that shows up. And I'm like, wow, we got to integrate that part of ourselves too. And we got to be able to deliver healing and a voice for those who still don't have developed a voice, or that have autism, or that have speech, different ways of speech. They call them disorders, because we all, I yesterday interviewed someone that was so brilliant for the podcast. And she said, brilliant woman, that also interesting, same background as Parvati and you both. So I think the Muse is trying to tell me something, but she said, communication. And, when we share, when we read, it's not to convince people, it's to connect with them. And I really feel that Isabella Castaspella and even Lavinia Lamini and every single mystical, magical character that represents all of the aspects that we all are in humanity, from Myron, Messi, Tessie, Bruno, Muntun, Daisy Dew, etc., are here to help us integrate all aspects of ourselves so that humanity can heal more. So can we cast spells?
Wait, before we conclude,
yeah. Okay, I have to tell you.
Yes.
She raves about you, and I couldn't. I said, "What is it about her? What is it?" She says, "You'll hear, you'll see." I feel it. I mean, it's just.
She's talking about you, Yvonne.
Oh! I'm so fascinated by Lavinia Lamini right now that I'm like, okay, Yvonne, remember you are doing a podcast.
Before we conclude.
No, but we still have a couple of minutes.
Good.
You are going to, because we have a ritual in the podcast to close with a blessing. So I'm just giving you the punch of what I am receiving right now, right?
Well, to speak to that, that's what I wanted to include here. Radha and Parvati, and myself included, have studied extensively with the master teacher of storytelling. His name is Robert McKee, world renowned, the Tim Grover and the Tony Robbins of teaching story, the best alive. And one of the things that he very, very emphatically and wisely teaches is your story is only as powerful as its antagonist. In other words, if you have
the worthy opponent.
Yes.
Okay, please repeat that. Please repeat that.
And the way he puts it, you as an author better love your antagonist. Don't make your antagonist second rate. Make him first rate. Love your antagonist. Pour love into your antagonist. The mistake that amateur writers would do is give it all to the protagonist, the hero. No, the hero must have a worthy antagonist. That's what makes a compelling, powerful story. So what we have here in Lavinia Lamini is a very worthy antagonist where a lot of love was poured into her. Look at like famous Star Wars, Darth Vader. Imagine if
I love him. I love him so much. I love that. I love all of that because you know what? The dark side is the womb, and it's the darkest place in creation that births both our beauty and our ugliness, our ups and our downs. We are in a humanity. We are experiencing, the universal laws of duality, as above, so below, etc. So I can't imagine my life without the worthy opponent. I mean, I will miss it. And that's part of myself, like when the gross that I have polished into spiritual cultivation, without that dark side, without that expression of myself that helps me choose who I want to be, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Oh, Isabella Castaspella, I'm in love. Radha and Shiva, I'm in love. So Radha, share a little bit more about.
She has one thing to say, and then I want to say one thing about that the Latin American audience will particularly.
Oh my gosh! Bring it on, Shiva.
But I just wanted to say too, this has to do with what happened to me and what happened with you, which is accidents that we had. Both have had horrific accidents.
The incidents.
Oh, sorry. Incidents.
Oh, that's a fast learning.
So what happened? This changed my life. I was a workaholic before. I didn't say that. I worked 6 to 7 days a week, crazy hours, up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and just constantly. Parvati kept saying to me, "You can't go on like this. You can't go on like this." this incident happened at a time that I should not have even been there. It was so perfectly formed. It was
orchestrated, divinely orchestrated.
Absolutely divinely orchestrated. The date that it was and what the situations were, that it had to only happen at this particular time. That's a whole other story. But anyway, the thing about it, this completely, everything that I was doing went to a dead stop, to a dead halt. And this is the darkest thing. It was the most horrible pain like that I've ever experienced. The whole thing of like the blackness and the darkness and everything that was there. And it was the most beautiful thing because my life transformed because of the spiritual part. So it's like the darkness had to be there. I don't know what would have happened if I continued going the way that I was going, but everything changed.
Yes.
Everything changed. It was a beautiful, people think, like they say, oh my God, that's so horrible. And anytime that hears what this particular thing is and they know what it is, they say, oh my God, even the surgeon, the neurological surgeon said, you're lucky to be alive. This is a miracle that you're alive. And how and what happened afterward, that just completely filled me with light so that I'm able to help other people, not just with problems or anything like that, but just to have that, because I can
hold space for people that other people are not able to do because they're so horrified by the experiences that.
Yeah, I love this. And, once you go through it, we got to support people to go through theirs, hopefully in an easier and more light manner, right? It is, instead of calling them near-death experience, they are near-life experiences. They give us, an opportunity to live again, an opportunity to choose different, an opportunity to now serve in a way that comes from deep embodiment and deep experience, right? And also, yes, Radha, say, sure.
I just said, you got it. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I've been through hell back and forth. I have like a VIP ticket, like whenever you want to come back, there is like, okay, now I know. So I'm not scared of the dark side. I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of disease. I'm not scared of any of that. But I do feel after this type of experiences, and probably Isabella Castaspella felt like that. And that I have a duty and responsibility to keep sharing and helping people, because people sometimes alive are living accidents of their thinking, are living accidents, they're letting Lavinia, Lamini in their life, their boss, their situation, their past, their memory, what they don't have, etc., to take over. And what they don't know is that takeover, that enemy is telling you, without you, I wouldn't exist. So live your life fully so I can keep integrating yourself in myself in you. So Radha and Shiva.
Wow. We're blown away.
He told me I'd be blown away, and he's right. I mean, you are just extraordinary, and I pranam. You know what that means?
Pranams. Oh, my beloved Radha, I pranam to you.
Incredibly for who you are and what you. And it's just so, and I'm just so honored to be here with you and to know you and to feel you and to love you.
Oh, likewise, beloved Radha. So when Shiva said, I said, let's bring mom. I didn't say your mom. I said, let's bring mom into the podcast. So beloved Shiva and Radha.
We have a surprise in the finale for
Okay, this is what I want to ask. Anything else that you want to share?
We just have a surprise for the sizable, loyal listenership of this podcast. For the Latin American heritage who supports this podcast and is such a true faithful companion of the listenership here, I just wanted to voice here that one of the great essential characters of this book who really helps save the day at the end of the story is named Angel Cruz, and he's a soccer star, and he is Latin American, and his soccer skills are vital to hero of the day, to help save the day. So there's something for this part of the listenership that I know is so supportive of this podcast and loyal. And I just want to, let them know also Witchy the Wise is everyone's favorite grandmother who makes magical tea. She's also in the story. So there's a whole
Okay, what did you say? Did you just spoke my love language?
Yes. I wanted to share that with you and the listenership, that we have a Latin American soccer star who's one of Izzy's best friends who helped save the day, and one of her other allies is Witchy the Wise, who's everyone's favorite grandma who makes magical tea. And it's her deep wisdom and open heart that make her a safe refuge and a source of good advice for trouble little witches. And I feel like, Yvonne, you embody
yes,
the Wise as well, and wanted to just pay tribute to you and
Thank you,
let everyone
beloved.
know that there's this is a part of the story.
I wish you could see me, because I am what Shiva calls beaming. I'm absolutely beaming. I just am so thrilled. Thank you.
Well, that we'll invite you next year. My podcast, we have a core value in myself, my team, my companies, that is called the bamboo principle, which we believe that the bamboo grows first. The strongest bamboo grows first 4 years in the ground. So we like to build really good foundations in the podcast. So we've been a couple of years already sharing the audio version. So next year we're ready to go into video. So you'll be invited. So, maybe we can wear witches' hats. That will be fabulous. My favorite time of the year is Halloween.
She's got a great picture of her with her witch's hat on. She has several witch's hats.
It's so amazing. So, beloved Radha and Shiva, we have a ritual in the podcast just to close, which is, if you can both, we'll take turns. We'll start with Radha, and then we end with Shiva. A blessing for our audience from your experience, from your, Shiva Castaspella, and the Radha Castaspella. Please bring us a blessing for these very powerful times of Halloween, which is Samhain, the New Year's of the Celtic tradition. And it starts a season in Latin America that I love. And I, decorate my home, which is the Day of the Dead. We celebrate the children's spirit, the adult spirit, and the ancestor spirit in the November 1, 2, 3, and starting on 31st of October. So please give us a blessing to close this show.
Thank you so much. And to everybody who's there, about how important the darkness is. Without the darkness, the light wouldn't shine. And when the light shines, extraordinary things happen. The impossible becomes possible. What can't be done can be done. What cannot be done can be undone. And I feel so blessed to be here. And with the love that I feel in my heart, I send out to every single person who's able to hear this and receive this. You are loved. You are deeply and graciously loved and cared for. Never give up.
Receiving that. Receive everyone. And now we're going to end with my beloved Shiva Baum, that I got you in the podcast. I always get what I ambition, my beloved Shiva. So please give us a blessing, beloved Shiva.
I'm swelled with emotion, welled up with love in sharing this. And thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, my mother, Radha, for existing, for being truly beneficial presences on this planet right now. And in closing, my prayer for every soul listening. May you remember the magnificence of who you truly are. Thank you, Yvonne, Radha, for reminding me. So much love. So much love.
So much love. So much love. We send blessings to everyone. We receive the blessings that we send. We thank Parvati. Hopefully we'll have her on the show soon for co-authoring this incredible book, for bringing to life this.
She sends her love, and she'd be honored to be a part of this extraordinary gift called the Spirituality Now podcast. Anytime.
Thank you. Oh, Shiva, you should you should come to a couple of episodes just for, I'm training in voice sharing. You're such an extraordinary storyteller too. So beloved community, muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much for being with us, with Shiva, with Radha. We will put the link where you can find the book. We will put the dates if you are in California, where you can go to the signed, the reading and the signing of the book. And we really recommend it, not only for Halloween, this book, but for any season, because there's always a Lavinia Lamini and an Isabella Castaspella in our lives in spring, summer, autumn, and winter. We love you so much. Muchísimas gracias. We send you a big kiss. Un beso. Adiós.
Adios.
Thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and share us with a friend. To learn more about how to live more present in the moment and take your faith into action, visit delaflorteachings.com/faith to access the free training of 21 Days of Faith in Action today.